Welcome to Women Talk Construction. I'm one of your co-hosts, Angela Gardner, and I'm here with Christy Powell. How are you today,
Hello.
Christy?
Good.
Yay! Well, and today we have a special guest on our show who is very passionate about workforce development, just like you and I are. And she is actually a graduate of the Clemson Civil Engineering Program and serves as a senior project manager with DPR Construction in Greenville. We were
Nice.
just talking to her about how she's moving from the Clemson construction site, which we have gone to see, and it's absolutely amazing, to another site in Greenville, actually Greer, that she's going to be working at. So, but before we get to her, we're going to share with you a little bit about one of our special sponsors, MPK, and we really appreciate them greatly for what they're
Yes.
doing. So, I'll let you kick us off, Christy.
All right. So, as Angela said, welcome to Women Talk Construction. Today, we want to highlight MPK. It's a company that's redefining rapid response in the utility sector.
Yeah, when extreme weather hit North Texas, leaving transmission lines damaged and families in the dark, MPK stepped up. They got the call on Saturday evening, and by Sunday they were on the site installing their Durabase composite mats.
In just days, MPK laid down 3,000 mats, creating a stable platform for heavy equipment to access hard-to-reach areas. Their quick action helped restore essential services to the community in record time.
If you need a team that delivers under pressure, MPK is the name to know. Learn more at mpki.com or call 1-877-MAT-ROAD. That's 1-877-MAT Road.
Thanks to MPK, the lights stayed on. Our lights stay on at Women Talk Construction, and families stayed connected in that particular project. That's the kind of impact we love to celebrate.
And it certainly is, and we love MPK for all they're doing. So who knows, maybe our next guest might eventually have a job where she has MPK on her job site. But who we have on today is someone that we have known I've known her, probably over 8 years now. I don't, she is actually, I don't, it's time flies. She is the sweetest person. She's a rock star woman in construction.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know her. If you aren't connected with her on LinkedIn, you need to, because and she will do anything for you. I've watched her interns. I've actually gone on the job site and interviewed her and heard her interns talk about her. They love her
That's awesome.
to death. So, welcome, Allison Anderson from DPR.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. That was quite the introduction. I don't know if I live up to all that, but thank you.
You do. Well, share with our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do at DPR.
Yeah. Well, I'm Allison Anderson. I'm a senior project manager with DPR Construction. I graduated from Clemson years ago in the civil engineering program, but did some various internships that made me ultimately realize I wanted to go into more of the construction, general contracting side of the industry, and have worked all over the Southeast with a couple of different employers. I've been with DPR for about 6 years now in Greenville, and I've just really enjoyed working with small teams, big teams, and just the different groups of folks across a number of different projects and in the Greenville area. So, like you mentioned, we just wrapped up one at Clemson, which is really exciting for me because I went here and, I feel like I'm giving back a little bit to the university that gave me so much. And it's just a cool place. We come to football games here a lot, and I'm able to show my girls, I have 2 daughters, what I do, and they get really excited about it too. So
That's
and then
awesome.
they tell their friends. So maybe they're really young. They're 5 and 2. So
Yay.
we may get the workforce from their advertising and 20 years from now, but that's where it starts.
Yeah, we
I
would
was
love
going to say
that.
that's a good segue too. Both my girls went into healthcare, even though they literally knew how to read blueprints at 13, both of them very well, actually.
Awesome.
But they decided they didn't want to work as hard as mom. So, and now they work harder. So I think that's funny. Anyway, this is a good segue for Allison. What is your perspective on how we are going to remove barriers to get, especially the younger generations, showing interest and staying, not just showing interest, but staying in the construction industry long term? And is there anything that you've been doing that's been making a difference, that you can see a difference, right? Not just make a difference, but you can actually see a difference.
Yeah, it's interesting because I saw it in just in my classes in school, that sometimes it's hard to get folks interested in the industry, and I think that there's a real perception problem as to what
Mm-hmm.
construction even is, and who can do it. Uh,
Yeah.
I went to my daughter's like parent teacher conference after they had been in school for a couple of weeks or whatnot when she was real little. And I was there with my husband, who's a teacher, and they said, "Oh, she loves the trucks. She loves to play building." They looked at him and they said, "You must be in construction. You must be a builder." And he was like, "Nope, that's her right there." But that was the perception, like, "Oh, her dad
Yeah.
must do this."
Yeah.
And so she's really always proud to tell people, "Oh, my mom does this, and my mom's a builder." And so, I mean, I think it starts literally at that age to
Mm-hmm.
where little girls can be just excited about that as they can be about, anything else. She has a construction costume in her costume box. So
Oh,
Nice.
granted, sometimes it's a tiara with the vest.
Hey, who cares? High
But
heels
hey,
and vest is good.
exactly. So I think starting at a young age to say this is not a boy thing or a girl thing, it's building is cool,
Mm-hmm.
whatever age you are. So I think starting that young is important just so that they know it's an option. Um and then, throughout as folks really, you know, grow through, middle school where they're starting to kind of
Mm-hmm.
gravitate towards what they want to do, and high school too. I think that's where there's still a big missing piece there. We've come a long way.
mm,
Um, but I think just the education of
Mm-hmm.
knowing what options there are within the
Yeah.
construction industry, that it's, there's great options within the trades, there's great options within
Yeah.
management, leadership, there's great options in technology. I'm convinced that there's so many kids out there that love video games that if they just knew like you could do
What they
that,
could do.
like you
Yes.
can really like translate that to what we do. There's a place for that. But I think they just don't know what they don't know. So
Right.
I think some of there's more and more programs that are growing to kind of do that.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish I could like steamroll it and everything move that much faster.
Yeah.
To get the engagement there. But like Ace Mentor is a great one, that's doing that across architecture, construction, and
Mm-hmm.
industry, and
Yes, they're
engineering with
amazing.
kids in high school. And then the ABC and different industry groups as well, are doing a great job with that. I just wish there was more and it happened faster.
Yes, and
Um,
ABC is really excited to be doing that too. Thank you for shouting out to our employer.
Yeah, well, it's awesome, and I just, I think, as far as getting folks to be interested and staying engaged, is realizing that
mhm,
there is so much flexibility in the
mhm,
industry. Like,
Mhm.
I have friends in other industries where I'm like, man, okay, I guess you're kind of stuck. Like once you do that, like it's hard to get out, or you have to go back to school
Mhm.
and do something different. I've seen folks change career paths, do different roles. And so I think just doing some research, talking to your, mentors, coaches, getting involved in industry groups and realizing like, oh, hey, that's a thing. I could do that. That's kind of a hybrid of what I'm doing versus what I want to do. There's so much opportunity out there. So I think just before throwing in the towel and saying, I'm done with this, think just do a little scouting, and I'm willing to bet that you can find something within the industry that works for whatever your, constraint may be, or whatever you're looking for in the industry.
oh, yeah, for sure. just FYI, I don't know if you've ever met Rachel who owns Forge Construction here in the Greenville area. It's a smaller platform. I think they do a lot of commercial, but she shows up in like a really fancy dress, and I mean, I'm talking like 5-inch heels to
Good
any
for her.
meeting. And then she has in her trunk all of her construction stuff. So your daughters can definitely do it, right?
That's
They
right.
can
That's
dress
right.
however they want. Um,
Bedazzle the vest.
yeah, exactly. But going into to more about, talking about representation and visibility. Representation does matter. We talk about that all the time, especially, in shaping how people see their potential in this industry. How do you think visibility, seeing people who look like you or share your experience, impacts engagement and belonging on the job site or in leadership roles?
I think it has a huge impact. Just being able to kind of look up, look over, look around you, and say, okay, I can do this. Early on in my career, I worked. I was a project engineer, kind of 1 to 2 years in, whatever, and I worked for a big, large GC that had plenty of females in leadership positions, but it just so happened the business unit I was in, I said, I want to see not just somebody in leadership, I want to see someone being a project manager. I want to see him on the job site. I want to see him, their day to day. Because at the time I
Mhm.
was thinking, okay, could I do this as a mom, and
Mm,
can I walk the job pregnant? Can I pump in the trailer? Can I, can I do this? I wanted to see it done. And there were no, I guess, opportunities for me to see that with where I was. Like, I'm sure they could have sent me and said, "Oh yeah, so and so in California is doing it," but I wanted to see it.
mm,
And I never did. And to be honest, I say still never have. But then I've been that person because I said, okay, I guess I'm past the point of being able to see it. I'm going to do it, and then hopefully be that example for others too. So we, I was out here up until maybe the day before. I had both my
mm.
kids walking the job site, doing stretch and flex in the morning, having to go to the bathroom in a porta john sometimes and, figure all that out. But I think it helped me prove to myself it can be done, and then prove to
Mhm.
the other ladies that it can be done too. Um, and so I think looking at that and seeing that it can be done, and that's my personal experience for what I was looking for. But I think whether it's folks of different cultures, or people that say, hey, I didn't get a degree, I want to see somebody that's worked their way up through the trades and
Mhm.
is in a
Mm,
leadership position. Or maybe they're somebody that came from another country that speak a different language, that want to says, man, this is really hard for me, but I want to see that somebody's done it. So I think it's super important to not only have that, a culture that has that representation,
Mhm.
but then connecting those people too. So I think that's why some of these great, industry events, and our women in construction group is so important, because then you can start to make those
mhm,
connections,
Mhm.
and maybe you're the liaison that connects other people too, to
Yes.
say, hey, there's somebody that's been through what you've been through, and can help you get through it.
mhm,
So it kind of ties to that mentorship. But I think when if you see folks in, women in construction vest, or on the billboard, or on the pamphlet, or whatever, um, it's important to see that and say, oh, okay, I've
I
never
can do that.
considered that. Yeah, I can do that.
mhm.
Um, and so I think that having not only have the representation matters, but then I think, sharing that, and
Mhm.
creating connections within that is really important.
Mm,
So there are a lot of, I know we talked about this earlier. There are a lot of different paths that people don't think of, right? When we're
mhm.
talking about construction. With me, my water broke on a job site, by the way. Um,
Gosh.
with me, I was in building sales. And the reason I was an accountant before I fell into construction was because I didn't know there was a path for something else, right? And there are so many paths in the construction industry that people don't think of. If you're good at math, you're good at English. I mean, there's just so many things that just your standard education that you get through high school could, if you're good at math and you're good at English and you're good at history, I mean, some of these things really matter in the construction industry. So what are some of the most unexpected roles that you've seen, and how does DPR help integrate people and help them grow in a transition within the industry for DPR?
Yeah, I think we do. This is one thing that I think really DPR does a really, really good job of. One, we're a pretty flat organization. So to
Mm.
say that, we have that as one of our ground rules is that everybody in the room has a voice. It's almost to a point of being annoying that nobody has their titles on things because you're like, who am I responding to, or who is such and such that's sending me this request for this information, or whatnot. But then you sit there and think about it, it shouldn't matter. Like you should respond, you should respect the people regardless of their role, their title. So it shouldn't be, oh, this is the big dog. I need to respond immediately, or I need to make sure that I, cater to this person. It shouldn't matter. So
Mm.
but sometimes you're like, wait, who on earth is this person and what are they wanting from me? Um, but I do think it helps to create that flat culture because it shouldn't matter. Everybody at the table in a room, at a staff meeting, at a board meeting, at a whatever town hall, um, everybody's opinion matters and is important. And so I think that goes towards one of our core values: respect the individual, and that's truly how it is. And part of that is respecting that the individual, that their career path may not follow the traditional hierarchical chart. So again, I'm a type A person, and so when I first came to DPR and I wanted to see all the structures, the formats, the org charts, the whatever, they're like, yeah, we don't do that. And I'm like, okay, that's a shock to my system a little bit. I need it. Like,
That's awesome,
feel like I
though.
was going through withdrawals a little bit. But what's nice about it is it's because people can create their own path. So it's like,
Mhm.
all right, we have, you asked about different folks that I've seen within their career take different paths. We have a superintendent that just said that happened to have a degree in architecture, but loved being the superintendent out on the job site. And in his, I'll say, free time, he would always be sketching and doing something within SketchUp or really into the field technology side of things. And he just said, as much as I love being the superintendent and I feel like I'm going to regret this because I'm going to miss it, but can I do something on the field technology side?
Mm,
So he recently transitioned probably about 6 months ago into our field technology group,
nice.
FTG, and is doing things with some of our drones, our robotic systems. We have a robot named Dusty that will
Mhm.
take the BIM model and lay out any element on the floor.
Nice.
And so he went into that role. We also have somebody that was one of our craft ladies, who said, "Hey, I love being a builder." She was Hispanic and said, "I just feel like I can leverage my strengths." And she got into safety and went
Nice.
into kind of a
Wow.
safety engineer role, which is great to have somebody who's bilingual
Mhm.
in that
Yes.
role. And so she kind of worked her way up from the trades craft side to a safety role. And
Hmm.
so it just goes to show, like she didn't have a degree in that
You
or
can do
anything, but
whatever
we
you wanna
provide the
do.
training and make it work, make it happen. So that's why I go back to just saying, hey, if there's something you feel like you're missing in your career or you don't like about what you're doing, just do a little research, find some people to talk to, and I'm willing to bet there is a role somewhere for you.
Mhm.
There's a lot of
Mhm.
flexibility.
And you're really good at bringing in just different folks to work with you. Like your interns are usually female students from the Clemson campus or other places. But and then you help them too, like do surveys. So, but workplace culture is our next topic. So I know that we know that you're a strong advocate for building a
Mhm.
positive workplace culture. What practices or leadership behaviors have you seen truly move the needle towards, respect across teams? That's especially, in a fast-paced construction environment, because we are moving fast. We have projects that have deadlines, and of course we have lots of challenges that always come up to mess with our deadlines. So
That's right.
yeah.
Well, and that was interesting. You bring up the helping with surveys. So Arizo, one of our interns now turned full time, project engineers from Clemson. She's doing her master's thesis on women in constructions, and one of the things that she found was just feeling respected and included on job sites is something that's really important to women, and I imagine to all people in general. But I think, creating a culture that does that it's leading by example, really. I mean, I think there was a phase in my career where I thought the longer hours I worked, the harder it showed that I was trying. I was trying to prove myself. So I was like, man, I'm gonna, burn the candle at both ends. And I think you realize like that only works for so long
Exactly.
before everything crumbles in on itself, whether it's your mental health and stability, your ability to perform at work, your ability to be with your family at home. And so I think when I started to realize, it was really when I got married and we had our first daughter, where then you were like, hey, I'm not just looking at myself anymore. And I think the younger generation is better at doing this than the older
Yes, they
generation
are.
is.
Agree.
So I envy that they figured this out a lot earlier than I did. But I think, understanding to, work smart, pace yourself, but then also speak up when needed. Don't, like it is a hard balance. And I tell that to some of the younger folks starting out is like, I don't want you to raise your hand after trying for 1 minute and, not figuring out the problem. So I want you to give it your full effort, but then don't kill yourself over it. Don't let the job suffer because you're trying to figure this thing out. Make sure you raise your hand. But I think,
don't struggle alone.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, you have people. Ask questions, like speak up, right? Even if it's just a peer, they might have experienced the same thing you did at one point.
That's exactly right. And most likely they have, like,
Exactly.
I mean, we've all experienced a lot, whether it's that exact scenario or not, but feeling stress, or feeling a deadline, or you screwed up and now you're trying to like fix it behind the scenes without telling anybody. That's even worse.
Yes.
So I think knowing, to speak up, raise your hand, ask questions. And then I think as far as the demands of the industry, I mean, those are always going to be there, but figuring out what are your non-negotiables, whether that's at home or at work or with your mental capacity. One of our superintendents that I work with here, he has a saying, there are days when you need a job and there are days when the job needs you. And that's good, because there are times when it's like, man, we're at a deadline, we got to buckle down. But then, there are other times where it's like, hey, I am not missing my daughter's, Christmas recital or whatever. So I think knowing what those are and like schedule them out with your team when you can. Obviously, you can't schedule mental breakdowns on the calendar always.
Yes.
It'd be nice if you could.
Yes.
Exactly. But, like the most you can to say, hey, I'm going to need some coverage because I'm going to want to leave. I'm going to have a hard stop at 5:00 this day because I want to make sure I'm home for this. Or, same at home as I say, hey, there's nights when I'm going to be home. I'm going to be wheeling in right at bedtime because I really need to be at this event, or stay late to finish this task. And so I think it's, the having those non-negotiables and understanding that sometimes there'll be some on the work side and some will be on the personal side.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your insights. Believe it or not, we're over 20 minutes. So it goes really, really fast. But everything that you
I told you I was
so
a talker.
important.
I was going to be able to do it.
Well, I mean, everything that you have to say is so important, and we want to make sure that people are listening. DPR has done some really great things. We know
Mhm.
peers and colleagues all over the country that work for DPR, and we hear positivity in a lot of places, right, from the men and women who work for DPR. So thank you for your insights. Thank you for what you do for workforce development and ACE Mentor. We're just glad that you're a friend and you are willing to share your story today. So thank you for being with us today, Allison.
And
Absolutely.
let
Thank you for
everybody
that.
know how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah,
Just real
please
quick.
feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Cool.
that is
Thank
the
you.
best. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you both so
Allison.
much.